What if I told you that the greatest thief of your life is not time itself, but how you spend it? Imagine waking up one day and realizing that your years have been spent giving your energy, your presence, your kindness to people who never truly valued it. You answered every call, carried every burden, and showed up every time you were needed. But when you needed someone, who stood by you? When you felt lost, who offered you direction? If you look closely, the answer may be unsettling. Not everyone deserves access to you. The Buddha once said, "Your purpose in life is to find your path and walk it." But how can you walk your path when you are constantly pulled in 1,000 different directions? How can you cultivate peace when your time is drained by those who do not respect your journey? If your time is your most precious currency, then why do you spend it so freely on those who do not cherish it? Today we will explore a profound Buddhist principle, the art of guarding your time, your energy, and ultimately your peace. Because a life lived for everyone else is a life half lived. And your life, your time, is far too sacred to be wasted. Chapter 1. The illusion of obligation. For centuries we have been conditioned to believe that being available to everyone is a virtue. That saying yes to every request makes us kind. That prioritizing ourselves is selfish. But in Buddhism, the concept of right action teaches us that not all giving is beneficial. Giving should be done with wisdom. In the Jataka tales, which recount the past lives of the Buddha, there is a story of a kind-hearted turtle. This turtle, always eager to help, carried travelers across a dangerous river on its back. But one day, a man was careless and dug his nails into the turtle's shell, wounding it deeply. The turtle, realizing that not all who ask for help deserve it, withdrew into the depths, choosing self-preservation over reckless giving. This story is more than just a fable. It is a reflection of what many of us experience in life. Have you ever found yourself always saying yes, always showing up, always being the reliable one, only to realize that the same people you helped would not do the same for you? This realization can be painful, but here's the truth. Not all who take from you deserve your generosity. There is an old Zen parable about a man who carried a heavy sack of rice on his back as he walked through the mountains. Along the way, people kept adding more to his load. One asked for help carrying a bundle of wood. Another placed a jug of water in his arms. Another handed him a stack of books. The man, eager to help, accepted everything without question. At first he felt proud, believing his ability to bear the weight was a sign of his strength. But as the journey continued, the load became unbearable. His legs trembled, his back ached, and he fell to his knees, unable to take another step. It was then that a wise monk approached and asked, "Why do you carry burdens that are not yours to bear?" The man, exhausted, had no answer. This is the illusion of obligation. We are taught that we must always be available, that we must always help, that saying no is an act of selfishness. But in truth, when we give beyond our limits, we are not practicing compassion, we are practicing self-destruction. The Buddha taught the importance of balance in all things, including generosity. Giving should come from a place of strength, not depletion. Think about a candle. A candle's purpose is to bring light, but if it burns too quickly, giving all of its flame away at once, it will extinguish itself before its time. True generosity is like a steady, controlled flame. It gives warmth and light, but it also sustains itself. If you are constantly giving to the point of exhaustion, you are not truly helping. You are only delaying your own burnout. There is wisdom in understanding when to give and when to step back. The Buddha himself once turned away a disciple who begged for endless teachings but refused to apply them. It is like filling a cup that has a hole at the bottom. The Buddha said, "No matter how much I pour in, it will never be enough." Some people take because they can, not because they truly need. And if we do not recognize this, we will continue to give until we have nothing left for ourselves. So ask yourself, are you giving because you truly want to, or because you feel obligated? Are you helping others in a way that also nourishes your own well-being, or are you depleting yourself to meet the expectations of others? True compassion begins with self-awareness. Learn to discern where your energy is best spent. Some people will take without gratitude, without thought, without concern for your well-being. And it is not cruel to walk away from such people. It is wise. Your time, your energy, and your peace are sacred. Protect them as you would a precious jewel. The lesson is simple. Giving should be intentional, not automatic. Be generous, but not at the cost of yourself. Set boundaries, not out of selfishness, but out of respect for your own well-being. Because if you give to the point of exhaustion, you do not uplift the world. You only dim your own light. Chapter 2. Your time is your karma. In Buddhism, karma is not just about actions. It's about how we invest our energy. Every moment spent is a seed planted. The question is, what kind of garden are you growing? If you spend your time in a field of weeds, negative conversations, toxic relationships, distractions that do not serve you, how can you expect a harvest of peace and fulfillment? The soil of your life can only produce what you cultivate. There is an old Zen proverb, "A man who chases 2 rabbits catches none." This means that if your time is spent in all directions on meaningless conversations, on relationships that drain you, on distractions that add no value, you will never find peace. You will always be running, always grasping, but never truly holding anything of worth. A Buddhist monk once told the story of a farmer who had 2 plots of land. On one plot, he planted nourishing crops, rice, wheat, and vegetables that would sustain him. On the other, he did nothing, allowing weeds to take over. As the seasons passed, the cultivated land flourished, providing food and abundance, while the neglected field became overrun with thorns and useless brush. One day, the farmer lamented his misfortune, saying, "Why is my land so unkind? Why does one field feed me, while the other brings only trouble?" The monk replied, "It is not the land that is unkind, it is your choices. You reaped exactly what you planted. One was tended with care, the other was left to chaos. Your time is like that land. What you nourish grows. If you spend hours in gossip, negativity, or mindless distractions, your life will be overrun with the consequences of those actions. But if you invest in wisdom, growth, and meaningful connections, you will cultivate a life filled with purpose and peace. Take a moment. Look at your life. Who do you spend the most time with? Are they lifting you up, or are they pulling you down? Do they bring you joy, or drain your spirit? The people you surround yourself with shape your karma, and karma is the architect of your future. The Buddha once told the story of a merchant who traveled with a group of traders. Along the journey, they encountered 2 paths. One was easy and filled with distractions, beautiful sights, enticing sounds, indulgences at every turn. The other was steep, difficult, and required effort to climb. Many of the traders chose the easy path, tempted by comfort and fleeting pleasures, while only a few took the harder route. But as time passed, those who chose the easy path found themselves lost in endless distractions, unable to complete their journey. Meanwhile, those who struggled up the difficult path reached their destination, gaining wealth and wisdom along the way. This is the reality of how we use our time. It is easy to fall into the trap of wasting our days on the trivial, on the comfortable, on the convenient. But convenience is not always aligned with wisdom. The true path to fulfillment requires choosing where our energy flows, ensuring that we are investing our time in things that will bring us lasting peace rather than momentary escape. So ask yourself, what kind of karma are you creating with your time? Every second spent is a step toward a future, one of clarity and growth, or one of confusion and regret. If you seek peace, plant the seeds of peace. If you seek wisdom, surround yourself with wisdom. Be mindful, be intentional, and remember, time is the most valuable currency you own. Spend it wisely. Chapter 3. The Power of Saying No. There is a famous Zen story about a monk who carried a heavy sack on his back for years. When asked why, he said, "Because others keep placing their burdens on me." The listener replied, "But why do you continue to carry them?" The monk paused, realizing the truth, and in that moment he dropped the sack and walked away free. This is what saying no feels like. It is the act of putting down the burdens that do not belong to you. It is the realization that you do not owe your energy to anyone who does not respect it. But here's the thing, saying no is not always easy. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that declining a request is selfish, that turning down an invitation is rude, and that setting boundaries means pushing people away. But what if I told you that saying no is one of the greatest acts of self-respect? There's an old Buddhist teaching that says, if you try to fill a cup that is already full, the water will only spill over and be wasted. This is exactly what happens when we say yes to everything. We overcommit, we exhaust ourselves, we give away time and energy that we don't even have, and in the end, what do we gain? Burnout, resentment, a feeling of being stretched too thin, like a candle that burns at both ends until nothing remains but wax and smoke. Imagine a woman named May. She was known for her kindness, always the first to lend a hand, always the one people turned to in times of trouble. She couldn't say no. How could she? She feared disappointing others, feared being seen as unkind. So she filled her days with the needs of others, saying yes to every request, every favor, every burden that wasn't hers to carry. One evening, as she sat alone in her home, she realized something unsettling. Though she had given so much to others, no one had ever stopped to ask how she was doing. No one had checked to see if she needed help. She had spent her entire life being available to everyone, yet at that moment, she felt utterly alone. This is the harsh truth many of us face when you always say yes. People come to expect it. They assume you will always be there, always willing, always ready to sacrifice your well-being for their convenience. But when you finally say no, some will call you selfish, others will be offended, and a few will disappear altogether, revealing that their loyalty was never to you, but only to what you could do for them. And that is the ultimate test, the test of who truly values you. In Buddhism, there is a principle called right effort. It teaches us that not all efforts are worthwhile. Some drain us, some distract us, and some pull us away from our true path. Knowing when to say no is not about rejecting people. It's about preserving your energy for the things that truly matter. It's about choosing where your effort is best spent. So how do you start? How do you break free from the cycle of overcommitment? First, recognize that your time is finite. Every yes you give is a no to something else. If you say yes to a conversation that drains you, you are saying no to peace. If you say yes to an obligation that does not align with your values, you are saying no to your own growth. Second, trust your intuition. If something feels heavy, if it makes you anxious, if your heart whispers, "I don't want this," listen. That is your inner wisdom guiding you. Third, practice saying no without apology. You do not need to justify your decisions. No is a complete sentence. If an invitation does not bring you joy, decline it. If a relationship does not uplift you, walk away. If an expectation does not serve your well-being, release it. A wise monk once said, "The bird does not ask permission to fly. It simply spreads its wings and goes." You too are allowed to choose your own direction. You are not obligated to explain your flight to those who wish to keep you caged. At the end of the day, your time is the most precious currency you own. Spend it wisely. Give it to those who uplift you, to experiences that nourish you, to moments that make your soul come alive. And when the moment calls for it, when the weight becomes too heavy, when the burden is not yours to bear, have the courage to say no, not out of selfishness, but out of self-love, because your peace, your joy, and your life are worth protecting. Chapter 4. Solitude is not loneliness. In today's world, people fear being alone. But in Buddhism, solitude is a sacred practice. The Buddha himself left behind the noise of the world to find enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. He understood a truth that many struggle to accept: being alone and being lonely are two entirely different things. True peace is not found in crowds. It is found in stillness. Many people surround themselves with others out of fear of being alone. They fill their schedules, their homes, and even their minds with distractions: constant noise, endless social interactions, meaningless chatter. But what are they truly seeking? Validation, escape, a sense of belonging. More often than not, people stay in relationships, friendships, and even social circles that do not nourish them simply because they fear solitude. But as Buddhist wisdom teaches us, the loneliest place is not being by yourself, it is being with the wrong people. There is an old Zen parable about a man who lived in a bustling city. He was always surrounded by people, friends, acquaintances, colleagues, yet he often felt an emptiness inside. No matter how much he talked, no matter how many events he attended, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. One day, he met a wise monk who observed his restless nature and asked, "If you feel alone among so many, are they truly your companions?" The man was taken aback. He had never questioned it before. That night, he sat in silence for the first time in years, realizing that the presence of others had never truly filled the void because he had never learned to enjoy his own company. Would you rather have one true friend or 100 empty connections? Would you rather have a quiet, fulfilling life or one filled with meaningless noise? The answer lies in understanding that solitude is not a punishment. It is a gift. It is the space where you truly meet yourself. Take the story of an aging artist named Hana. In her youth, she was constantly surrounded by admirers who praised her work. But over time, she realized many of them were only there for the social prestige of knowing her, not because they truly valued her as a person. She clung to these relationships for years, fearing that without them, she would be forgotten. It wasn't until she retreated to a quiet countryside home, spending her days in solitude, that she rediscovered the joy of creation. In the silence, she heard her own thoughts clearly. In the solitude, she found inspiration that had long been buried under the expectations of others. She had never been more alone, yet never felt more alive. Solitude allows you to listen to the rhythm of your own heart, to the whispers of your intuition, to the wisdom that exists within you. It is in solitude that the greatest ideas are born, the deepest insights emerge, and the most profound healing begins. Yet many resist it. Why? Because facing oneself is not always comfortable. In the silence, there are no distractions, only truth. And truth can be unsettling, especially if you have spent years avoiding it. But this is why solitude is so powerful. It strips away the unnecessary, leaving only what is real. It forces us to confront ourselves, to sit with our thoughts, to truly understand who we are, beyond the expectations of society. The Buddha often retreated into solitude, not because he disliked people, but because he knew that the clearest wisdom comes from within. He once said, "A man who conquers himself is greater than one who conquers 1,000 men in battle." And what better way to know oneself than through solitude? But solitude is not about isolation. It does not mean shutting the world out or rejecting human connection. Rather, it is about cultivating an inner sanctuary, a space of peace that exists within you, regardless of who is around. When you are comfortable in your own company, you no longer need to seek validation from others. You do not fear being alone, because you have built a home within yourself. So how do you embrace solitude? Start small. Take moments in your day to be with yourself, without a phone, without distractions. Sit in silence and observe your thoughts. Take a walk alone and listen to the sounds of nature. Write, reflect, breathe. Over time, you will find that solitude is not lonely, it is liberating. And when you emerge from that space, you will carry with you something far more valuable than fleeting company. You will carry a sense of self, unshaken by the presence or absence of others. You will walk through the world with a quiet confidence, knowing that whether surrounded by many or standing alone, you are whole, because in the end, the greatest companionship you will ever find is the one you build with yourself. Chapter 5. Protecting your inner peace. The Buddha taught that everything is impermanent. Relationships change. People come and go. The only constant is you. And within you lies something invaluable, your inner peace. Yet, in a world filled with noise, expectations and demands, this peace is constantly under threat. Protecting your peace does not mean shutting the world out. It does not mean becoming indifferent or unkind. It means setting boundaries, not out of anger, but out of love for yourself. It means choosing where to invest your energy, who to allow into your space, and what to prioritize in your life. There is an old Zen story about a wise master who lived on a quiet hilltop. People from the village often came to him seeking advice, pouring out their troubles, their frustrations, their fears. The master listened with kindness, but never allowed their turmoil to shake his tranquility. One day, a particularly angry man stormed up the hill, shouting insults, trying to provoke the master into a reaction. The master simply smiled and said, "If someone offers you a gift, but you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man was taken aback. He had expected an argument, a defense, some kind of response. Instead, he was met with stillness. This is the power of protecting your peace. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every person has earned the right to disrupt your serenity. To protect your peace, you must recognize that not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Some people bring nourishment, wisdom, kindness. Others bring chaos, manipulation, and negativity. Just as you would not invite someone into your home who constantly disrespects it, why allow someone into your life who does the same? Consider the story of a woman named Lian. She had always been the one who gave endlessly her time, her support, her energy. She believed that being a good person meant always saying yes, always being available. But over time, she noticed something. The more she gave, the more people took. Few ever stopped to ask how she was doing. Few offered the same kindness in return. One day, exhausted and feeling invisible, she sat in meditation, and a thought arose. What if I treated my energy like a garden? In a garden, you do not let weeds overrun your flowers. You do not allow careless feet to trample what you have carefully nurtured. You set boundaries, not to keep others out, but to protect what is growing within. From that day forward, Leanne became intentional. She stopped answering calls that drained her. She declined invitations that felt like obligations rather than joy. She surrounded herself with those who nourished her spirit, not those who depleted it. And in doing so, she found peace. It means understanding that silence is often more powerful than words. Not everything requires a response. When someone seeks to provoke you, silence speaks louder than any argument. When negativity surrounds you, stepping away is a statement of strength. When the world demands more than you can give, stillness is an act of self-respect. It means knowing that your time is a reflection of your priorities. If you spend hours engaging in negativity, your life will reflect that chaos. If you give your energy to things that do not serve your well-being, do not be surprised when peace feels out of reach. But if you choose to invest your time in what truly matters, growth, wisdom, joy, you will cultivate a life of serenity. A peaceful life does not happen by accident. It must be built with intention. It requires courage to say no, to walk away, to put yourself first. It requires wisdom to know what deserves your energy and what does not. And it requires faith that in protecting your peace, you are not losing anything of value, but rather preserving what is most sacred. So ask yourself, what are you allowing into your space? Who are you letting disrupt your stillness? And most importantly, what are you willing to do to protect the most valuable thing you own, your inner peace? Time is fleeting. Like grains of sand slipping through open fingers, every second that passes is lost forever. You can either surrender it to the noise of the world, allowing distractions and obligations to steal your energy, or you can reclaim it. You can choose to spend it in peace, in clarity, in the quiet wisdom of knowing your own worth. Life does not wait. It moves forward with or without your permission. And one day, when the final chapter is written, you will look back and see the choices you made. Will you see a life shaped by purpose, by conscious decisions, by the courage to protect your energy? Or will you see moments wasted on things that never truly mattered? The choice is yours. You are not obligated to give your time to those who do not value it. You are not required to fill your life with noise just to avoid silence. You are allowed to prioritize yourself, to walk away, to choose differently, to stand firm in the knowledge that your time, your energy, your peace, these are sacred gifts, not to be squandered, but to be treasured. So be selective, be intentional, be at peace. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect. What in your life deserves your time? Who truly honors your presence? And most importantly, how will you choose to spend the moments you have left? Share this wisdom with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, your time is sacred. Spend it wisely. Subscribe to Quiet Wisdom for more Buddhist teachings that bring clarity, peace, and meaning to everyday life.